Okay, let's bring out Cabana.
Thank you. So I have a great idea for a mobile app. I'm guessing a lot of you guys have said that, and if you haven't, then you have a friend who said it, or you know someone who has. But a lot of the people who say this are not actually making the apps. How come? Well, first of all, it's hard to make a mobile app. It requires programming, and it often requires a language that not many people are familiar with. Let's say you go try and find a programmer. There aren't a lot of people out there, so it's really hard to find programmers to do your mobile app. If you do find someone, it's too expensive, and if you do find someone and are willing to pay them, it takes too long. We're going to solve all 4 of these problems right now with Cabana. So let me show you. What we're going to do is we're going to build a photo sharing app, because those seem to be pretty popular right now. So Jeremy's going to start off, and he's just going to create a new project. And the first thing you're going to see about Cabana is that it's an incredibly accessible experience. It's very visual. And everything that you're seeing here happens in the browser. What we wanted to do is we wanted to create an environment where people build apps the way they think about apps. So we have here a layout tool that allows you to just drag and drop buttons, images, text onto your app. When you start the app, you can lay out your screens in a flowchart kind of manner, where you say this screen goes to this screen, you pick the transition, all incredibly visual. And we did this because most of the people who have the concept for the idea for what they want to make an app, those often aren't the technical people. The visionaries are often designers and artists. And you know, we've seen this revolution before. We've seen tools like WordPress allow anyone to have a web page. 15 years ago, you had to spend a lot of money. Sounds a lot like apps right now, but now with a product like Cabana, you can go and make an app yourself. So once you decide you want to start adding functionality to your app, you flip over the layout, and like you're plugging in a VCR or a DVD player to your stereo, you just start plugging these pieces in together. You grab these pieces, in this case a node, drop it down, and start creating your functionality right there. So we believe this is the way apps should be made, in this very visual process. But where do all these pieces come from? So we think this is the coolest part of Cabana, because we have something called the Cabana Exchange. And this is where you go and get custom pieces that add functionality to your app. If you want to add a Twitter stream to your app, you go grab that piece. Let's say you wanted to add a button that checks in on Koala. You can add that piece. You want to see your Dropbox, what's in there? Add that piece. Now, we've created a bunch of these pieces, but the coolest part is that you guys will be creating these pieces, because the Cabana Exchange allows you to wrap your services and expose them to the entire Cabana community. So as you see here, that's what we did here with Cabanagram, which we tapped into the Instagram API, and already Jeremy has the most popular photos from Instagram appearing in his app. And now he's going to go and add a camera. So we wanted to make this incredibly visual, incredibly powerful, and we know there are all sorts of startups out there who both have ideas that they want to make. They want to take their services and put it as an app, but they also want to expand those services and let anyone create them. So once Jeremy's done making his app, he can go and publish it. And this is where you actually pay for the app. It doesn't cost anything to start using Cabana. You can jump in, you can start playing around, you can build your app, and at the end of the process, when you want to publish and share your app with your friends, that's when you pay. And at that point, you only pay for the pieces you use. We give you a parts list that says, hey, you use that Twitter app, you use that Koala app, pay now. And that's how simple it is. So there you can see, there's Jeremy. He's adding a little camera functionality in. And then he decides, hey, do I want to publish this to iOS? Do I want to publish it to Android? And you can also publish it as a web app. Because all this stuff is happening in HTML5 on the web, we easily can create web apps. You just give a URL to your friends, they go on their iPhone, and they download it right to their app, to their phone, and they totally can go and distribute it as quickly as possible. So that's how easy it is to make an app with Cabana. So today, we are going to open up our private beta. We're doing a special launch invite. If you go and you tweet right now that you saw Cabana app rock the stage at launch, we will invite the first 500 people who do that into Cabana. You can also go visit us at cabanaapp.com and sign up for our beta. And today we're looking for a couple things. We're looking for those people out there who have ideas for apps and want a better way to make them. We're also looking for people who have amazing services and want to expose that to the other Cabana users. We are looking for investors, and finally, we're looking to hire people to help make all this possible. Thank you.
Wow, awesome. What do you guys think? Whoa.
Feedback time.
Ouch. What do you guys think? Building iPhone apps instantly? Too good to be true? Is it real?
It is real.
So there's two things. I'll go with the bad part first, and then we'll go with the good part, because there's a good side of this. I think there's always going to be an issue of, if you're really serious about your mobile app, you're going to want to own the code base in the end, or know where that code base is, or be able to go, dig in and edit that. And so I'd be curious what your thoughts are, like, once you get to that compiling standpoint, where's that code come from, and can you actually take it somewhere and through Xcode or otherwise, manipulate it. But then B, regardless of like the end format, I think you have a very, very compelling rapid prototyping tool, and there may be an entire market that exists there of being able to go and say, I've got this idea, I want to prototype it quickly and get it out there, and sure, maybe we want to go back and remake it from the ground up, but from like a rapid prototyping standpoint, I think it's fascinating.
Yeah. So a couple things. Definitely, the rapid prototyping thing is something that you can do incredibly quickly here. I mean, typically when I look, we've worked with some people and they'll give us designs. We have the app, or at least the look of the app, up and running in an hour.
Awesome.
But then, so one thing about those pieces, you don't just get them from other people. You can write them yourselves. So your engineers can write all the hard parts. We like to think we're not trying to put engineers out of a job. We're trying to put them in the right job. So you get your engineers to write just the pieces that you need that are hard, and you let your designers and artists and visionaries put the app together using those pieces.
Also, you can download a zip file of the Xcode project.
Yep.
So.
Good.
So what's the trust framework for accepting these things that you then compile into your end user experience? How do you mitigate the concerns both on intellectual property and
right, so we definitely, we're reviewing the pieces that come in and are put up in the Cabana Exchange. We also, you're allowed to, depending on how the person who's creating the pieces, some of them you can break apart and see how they were made and take a look at that stuff. And then we keep track of all of it. One of the things that, we come from a background of building very complex tools, so we're aware where all the pieces come from, and if we have to just squash a piece, we can do that.
so you'll build the marketplace and do the billing and all that as well?
Absolutely. So if you had an idea for just a piece, you can bake out that piece, put it up on the marketplace. You can set the cost for your piece and sell it to the rest of the community.
We also aggregate the license terms.
Yep.
So if it's pieces MIT license or different things, we have a place to enter all that information.
It's notoriously hard to make money in the tools business, so I'm curious how you think you'll overcome that.
Well, I think part of that is looking at sort of a standard middleware kind of environment where you just sell the thing to the end user. Our vision is that we want to be a facilitator, and that we're really creating this network of collaborators, that people working. WordPress is a big model for us. Here you have a very small, passionate user group that creates plugins and themes for the larger community, and that's the model that we want to follow. We want to create that platform and let everyone make money off of it.
So we take a cut of the pieces, basically.
And are you guys participating at all in the transactions post-app creation, like the subscription revenue or sales of the apps? Or
That's currently not where our focus is. I mean, one thing that, as we've talked to people, and maybe sort of to the point of like, hey, I want to own it after the fact, when you decide to publish natively, we give you that file, and it is yours, and you can go off. We're not having tethers into it. But at the same time, you can drop an ad widget in, and we can do things where that ad widget actually brings us money. So there are a lot of options there, and one of the things that we're looking to do right now, post-launch, is to bring on some people who really can guide us about what that absolute best business model is, that product market fit.
And will the idea also be, I'm building something and I don't have the engineers to build it and it's not in the marketplace, I can put it out for spec and someone can bid on it? Or?
Absolutely, sort of a 99 design style approach. So what we're calling that is you put a bounty on a piece. So if you can't find the piece that you want, you're saying like, I really want people to check in on Guala. You can go and say, hey, can someone build this for me? I'm willing to pay this much. Or, hey, I really want this piece, and you can go resell it afterwards. I don't care. I just need it for my app.
How do you bootstrap the developer audience if people aren't making apps with it today, or there's no marketplace?
One thing is we came to the launch conference to do that. We knew that a lot of startups are going to be watching this, and hopefully they're like, oh man, we want our services in there right now. Secondly, I like looking on news sites and seeing when I know someone's coming out with an iPhone app because they post a job for an iOS engineer. All those startups that are struggling trying to figure out how to get onto mobile, we think this is a great solution for them, especially being web-based, because it took us 30 minutes to wrap the Google Maps API, 30 minutes to get the Instagram stuff up and running. So it's really, really quick to tap into your back-end services.
Yeah, I'd be careful too, just how you selling the dream of like I'm a designer and I can make like an app, like sort of an easy bake oven kind of experience. It's a little. People have tried to do that by writing code or basically creating code through like flow diagrams.
Yep.
And often this is like a really bad experience because like you sort of hit a wall as far as what that can express, and actually text is like the way that has been really effective for developers for 40 years.
One thing that's been cool for us, we come from the console game industry, and so we were, our last company, we sold to Sega, and we had about 150 people, and the challenge is you got 10 engineers and 140 designers and artists, and you're like, how do we empower them to help us make this massive experience? So in the game industry, we've been tackling this problem of, how do you do more procedural behavioral coding without turning people into coders? And so we're trying to take a lot of that experience and bring it into...
Yeah, just things like Visual Basic and Delphi back in the 90s were like pretty... they're like, for a language purist, they might be hideous, but they helped get a lot of people in like VBA and Excel, like get people who are amateurs into like programming and sort of able to fumble their way around.
Yeah.
And it's rapid prototyping.
Let's take a question from the grand jury. Jose?
Yeah.
Earlier on, you mentioned that it was for creatives or for artists, and you noted that, Drew, that the challenge of actually having folks like myself, I'm a creative, and the minute that you got into the object-oriented programming, you lost me there in the user experience. Squarespace is actually a pretty good bar to set. WordPress, of course, is a little different. How are you going to fight the complexity issue in the language? You guys are speaking a very different language that's a lot of creatives might not speak, and I know a lot of them. Every day, I want to make an app. Oh my God, I have this idea. I hear it every single day.
Well, one of the and we recognize that this is a big problem, and that's why we spent a lot of time trying to solve it. And one of our things is we want to have sort of unfolding complexity as you start building your app. So you start you're working at a screen level, slowly you go down into the design level, and really the complexity of the experience making your app really parallels how complex an app you want to make. So there are a lot of simple apps, and you can get stuff up running very, very quickly that do not get complex, and you don't need to dive super far in. And we were building some complex stuff up there, but if you have your map widget that you drop in, and then you want to hook that up to your GPS, it's literally location into location. And so if you can hook up a DVD player, we think you could make some functionality work in this.
Awesome. Let's hear it for Cabana.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.